So, hello everyone, welcome back to UGC NET 1760 days 60-minute challenge. Today we'll be continuing off where we left a day before yesterday. So, logging in, dashboard. We will start from demand analysis. Just for revision, we'll start with the whole topic of managerial economics. We'll start with noteworthy mentions. Okay. VN Pandit, macroeconomic modeling, structuralist and Keynesian frameworks. Milton Friedman, monetary theory of inflation. Inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomena, also known for permanent income hypothesis, natural rate and employment. Fritz Matchlab theory of knowledge, the production and distribution of knowledge in the United States. Knowledge society and intellectual property economic. John Maynard Keynes, famous theory, Keynesian economics. In the short run, especially during recessions, aggregated demand determines overall economic output and employment. Advocated for government intervention to stabilize the economy. Okay, so these are names which you should know. Just have in the back of your mind. Next, we start with implicit cost and explicit cost accounting. So, explicit cost are when you do a business, any cost where there is an exchange of money, that is known as explicit cost, whether you are paying your employees or paying for the electricity or the raw materials or taking any cost to your organization, whether it is your internet bill where money is actually exchanged. And there are different types of explicit cost: rent, utility, uh, where you the calculate the cost which you have incurred because you are doing the business. Because you are doing the business, let's say you were previously working on a salary, now you are doing business, so you are not taking any money for the business. But if you left that job to do the business, so whatever money that you were earning monthly, unless this business also starts earning that much, let's say after 1 year the business starts earning the same amount in which you were working in your salary, so that whole year you could have earned your salary which you gave up for your business. So that is the implicit cost. Or generally, if you see, if you work somewhere as a salaried individual, you go to the office. Here you might have started working from your own home, so technically you don't need to pay rent wherever you are staying. So that is again rent also. Using your home as a business place is also an implicit cost that you have paid, and so on and so forth. Mm, Purpose: implicit cost as essential for calculating economic profit. So there are two different concepts: accounting and economic profit. So we have covered let's cover economic profit, comparing accounting and economic profit. Accounting profit is simple: total revenue minus explicit cost. Focuses on tangible out of pocket expenses used for tax reporting. Economic topics. Economic profit is total revenue minus explicit cost and the implicit cost. Takes into account opportunity cost. Helps to assess the true profitability of this. Why the distinction matters? The explicit implicit cost framework is fundamental in entrepreneurial decision making, that should you stay in the business or take another job. Evaluating real profitability, economic versus accounting profit. Understanding the concept of opportunity cost, central to all of economics. Next come, what is demand? In short, demand is the desire of a commodity by an individual and backed by the ability and willingness to pay. If let's say I want to buy a laptop, I have two options. I can go for a laptop without a GPU, that I will only be able to do business or standard work on it, or I can go on a laptop with a separate GPU inside it. We call it discrete GPU. So what will happen? I can also play game on it. So the best laptop, let's say for working day to day, I can get it around 30,000. If I want top of the line just for working and everyday activities, I can get it for 1 lakh. Now similarly, gaming laptop lowest end you can get at 50 55, you have to spend minimum, and maximum you want the top of the line, you can go as high as 2 lakh 50,000 to 4 lakh 50,000. So dep I have a desire to buy a laptop, gaming laptop, but if I don't have the ability and willingness to pay, let's say 4.5 lakhs for a gaming laptop, then that I will not be considered in as like my opinion will not be considered as demand, because I don't have the ability and willingness to pay. Next, analyzing consumer demand. Understanding how and why consumers make purchasing decision is fundamental to managerial economics and marketing strategy. Consumer demand analysis is the study of how individual preferences and incomes prices interact to influence purchasing behavior. So this is the overall summary of the whole managerial economic foundations. First, we study utility analysis. It shows the satisfaction or benefit a consumer derives from consuming product or services. It forms the foundation of consumer demand analysis. There are three things in it: total utility, overall satisfaction from consuming all units; marginal utility, additional satisfaction from consuming one more unit; law of diminishing marginal utility, as more units are consumed, the marginal utility of each additional unit decreases. And so we'll see this ahead. From the total utility curve, you get the indifference curve analysis. It is the analysis of this utility curve. And difference curve analysis is a more refined tool for understanding consumer behavior. It is based on ordinal utility, where ranking is important, not the actual value of utility. Indifference curve shows combination of two goods that provide equal satisfaction. Budget line represents all combination a consumer can afford. Consumer equilibrium achieved where the budget line is tangent to an indifference curve. This method helps understand consumer choice, substitution effect, income effect, and precisely the utility analysis alone. The law of demand states that certain, all else being equal, as the price of product increases, the quantity demanded increases. Vice versa, the inverse relationship is due to substitution effect and income effect. Demand curves typically slope downwards from left to right. This principle is critical in decision precision in pricing decision, market entry, and policy analysis. Demand elasticity analysis. Elasticity measures how sensitive demand is to change in key variables. Price elasticity of demand, percentage change in price, quantity demanded upon percentage change in price, percent. Similarly, income. In elasticity of demand, we observe if we change the price or change the income. Okay, does the demand change like to a large extent? If it does, that means it is highly elastic. With a change in let's say price or income, the demand will change. If it doesn't change even after you have changed the price or income, we say it is inelastic demand. Now for demand forecasting, there are two methods we are talking about demand. So qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative data requires your past historic data of, let's say, your company or your organization, so that you can do statistical analysis using, let's say, time series analysis, regression analysis. Qualitative method is an expert opinion, market research, Delphi method. Forecasting is vital for inventory planning, production scheduling, budgeting, and strategic decisions. What is the indifference curve? We just studied about the utility curve. So an indifference curve represents a graphical depiction of different combination of goods that provide the same level of satisfaction or utility to a consumer. The consumer is indifferent between these combinations because they derive equal satisfaction from each. The indifference curve theory was developed by Francis Cedro Edgeworth and later refined by Wilfred Pareto in the earlier 20th century. However, it was popularized when formally introduced by John R. Riggs and R.G.D. Allen in 1934. Properties of indifference curve, they are negatively sloped. So as you increase one, though both axes are y and x, so satisfaction level, if you increase both, it will be a higher satisfaction level. So if you increase one, the other decreases. So it is a slope is negative. Convex to origin. Indifference curves are usually convex to the due to the diminishing marginal rate of substitution. This means that as a consumer substitutes one good for another, the amount of second good decreases. Next, higher difference curve represents higher satisfaction. Indifference curves never intersect. As you can see in the diagram, they will never intersect, because if they intersect, it means there is a point for which there are two different, for the same combination of x and y goods, there are two different happiness level which cannot happen. No thickness or sharp bends. An indifference curve is smooth continuous curve with sharp bends and without sharp bends, ensuring consistent preference patterns. And there are two extreme cases, perfect substitutes and perfect complements. So if two goods are perfect substitute, the indifference curve is a straight line with a negative slope because the consumer is willing to trade them at a constant rate. If two goods are perfect complements, the indifference curve is L-shaped because they must be consumed together in a fixed proportion. Next we go to demand curve and law of demand. Demand refers to a quantity of good or service that consumers are willing and able to purchase at various price. So we studied what is demand. It is the desire of a commodity backed by the ability to pay its demand. Yes, we just covered here. Consider you are a consumer of Oreo biscuits. You like to eat one Oreo packet every week, which cost 20 rupees. Consider the price of Oreo biscuit packets is reduced from 20 to 15. The next time you go to buy Oreo biscuit, will you buy more packets of the biscuit or less packets of the biscuit? The law of demand states that all else being equal, when the price of a good decreases, the quantity demanded increases. When the price increases, the quantity demanded decreases. This is noteworthy. This is because consumers are more willing to buy a good when it is cheaper and less willing to buy it when it is more expensive. And this is the demand curve. A demand curve is a graphical representation of the relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded, typically showing an inverse relationship. The typical demand function is often referred to as D is equal to A minus BP, where D is the quantity demanded, P is the price, and A and B are constant. This occurs when the good changes and the when the price of good changes and the quantity demanded changes as a result. For example, if the price of a good, there will be movement along the road. Next, this is done. Understanding market dynamics. Now there are some effects which are commonly observed, so we have given them certain names. So first is bandwagon effect. These are more social terms which later on we can track on the graph. So first is the bandwagon effect. Bandwagon effect, you can see it many places. It means because other people are doing it, you will get on the bandwagon. You know, there is a common English phrase, get on the bandwagon. So that is what it is. If a new social media app becomes widely popular, more users join it because it is more famous. So that is one effect of bandwagon effect. Then the other one is, let's say the price of gold is increasing. What does it mean when the price of gold is increase? Let's say price of gold is increasing. What does it actually mean if you think about it? It means that everyone is buying gold. That's why the price is increasing. There are people who are buying, there are people who are selling. If there are more buyers, So that means the price will increase because more people want to buy. So they cannot, the buyers cannot decide then what price to buy because they are more, there are less sellers, so sellers decide, so price increase. So whenever you see in uh, the news or on the internet that price of gold is rising, price of cryptocurrency is rising, it means more people want to buy it, everyone is buying it, and less people are selling it. So if you go and buy at that time, it means you are getting in the bandwagon effect, that everyone is buying and you are also buying. So that is the idea behind the bandwagon effect. Now snob effect is directly opposite to it. So if you see, snob generally is used in a negative connotation, a negative meaning in the English language. If someone says, "Oh, he's such a snob," it means negative it means negative it has a negative aura to it. Let's use simple word. Connotation is an very high word. A negative aura to it. So it means he's somewhat different from the rest. Snob effect means, and not like he's not better than the rest, but in some aspect he's lagging from the rest of the class or the group in which he's saying. People are saying, "Oh, he's such a snob." So the snob effect means the same. It is the opposite of bandwagon effect. It means when you try to find goods or services, you want those goods and services which are less popular, so that you can have a sense of different. You can differentiate yourself from the masses. Oh, I'm different from the masses also. So, and as that item will become more mainstream, you will not prefer it. For example, if you see in the fashion industry, there are companies like Louis Vuitton and Gucci and other companies who only sell a limited number of products and they price it very high. Okay, and even in cars there are companies and organizations such as Bugatti and Rolls-Royce, where like in Bugatti they'll make you fill out an application and you have to give an interview and you have to have the required resources and you have to justify to them why they should give you a Bugatti, their car. Okay, so now these products that they are selling now, the example we saw, these are like very less people can have it, so people, a certain group of people prefer it. So it's the snob effect. Let's say from tomorrow, either the car industry, Bugatti or Rolls-Royce, or even in the fashion industry, Gucci and this other brand, Louis Vuitton, they start mass producing, they start making it for everyone. Those original people right now who prefer it, they'll stop buying it because now it's not, exclusive basically. It's not different from the group. So that is the snob effect. Then comes the income effect. The income effect refers to change in consumer demand for product as a result of change in income. So as the income changes, first there are certain necessity goods which a human needs to buy in any case. So first priority goes to the necessity goods when someone has money. Now after those goods are bought, whatever money is left, now what do you do of that money? If so, whenever you get a salary or you earn money, first you will buy the necessity goods, and then whatever is left, you spend it. So, income effect says as your income increases, your preference for product changes. Let's say first, whatever necessity goods you are buying, you can even buy better quality of it. If you are eating normal eggs from the poultry, you will start eating, cage-free eggs and range-free eggs with organic feed and such. If you eat normal chicken, you will start eating organic chicken in a sense that hasn't been fed the GMO seeds and all. So that is how, like, you are eating rice, but you are eating a better quality of rice. You are consuming poultry, but or milk, but now you are consuming better quality. So this is called the income effect, where if your income increases, people generally tend to prefer to increase their expenses also. And they, in when they increase their expenses, they buy better quality foods and so. Substitution effect. The substitution effect occurs when a change in the price of goods or service causes consumers to switch in all alternative product that offers better value. The effect is closely tied to price sensitivity in the market. What it means, what this means is, suppose the white labeled salt comes for 15 rupees per kg, and there is Tata Namak which comes for 20 rupees per kg. You buy Tata Namak, you prefer Tata Namak. But let's say there is a change in the price of that good. Now Tata Namak from 20 went to 30, that is 30% increase. So now you will switch to any other brand that sells in 20 rupees per kg, or you will switch to the white label. So because they increase the price, you change the brand, so that is you switch to an alternative product. That is called the substitution effect. Or this can be observed within the product line, also outside. Another example that we can take it, let's say if the price of chicken rises, people may if the price of goat meat rises, people may switch to, let's say, chicken meat as an alternative source because it is cheaper. That way also it can happen within the food product category and across also. So these are the four effects that we have studied in light of the managerial economics foundations. The market is complete. We'll go to next. Okay. Now what is supply? Supply refers to the quantity of a good or services that producers are willing and able to offer for sale at different prices. Now assume, let's say we manufacture Oreo biscuits. Okay, we manufacture and supply 1 lakh Oreo biscuits to the company, and the company then pays us 5 rupees for every packet. The MRP on the packet is 20. As the company has recently announced that they will be selling the biscuit packet for 15 rupees, you will be paid 4 rupees now for every biscuit packet that you supply. Now as a supplier, since our profit margin has decreased, to make the same profit, we will have to sell more, correct? If I want to make 1 lakh profit now, first I was getting 5 rupees per packet. Now I'm getting 4 rupees, so I need to increase my quantity that I'm selling to make up the same amount of money. So that is how we consider supply. The law of supply states, all else being equal, as the price of good increases, the quantity supplied increases. Yeah, so see, first I was making 1 lakh rupees because I was getting 5 rupees every packet. Now I'm getting 4 rupees. So I want to produce more, but I will have more cost. First, if I was producing 1 lakh Oreo biscuits, now I have to produce 1 lakh 20,000 Oreo biscuits, which will increase my fixed or variable cost, and fixed cost is fixed. It will increase my variable cost. It will cost me more to make the same amount of profit. So it takes more effort. So generally, as a company, I will not prefer, as a manufacturer, I will not prefer to lower the price, because to make the same amount of profit, I will have to invest more variable cost and get less profit. So that is what from the suppliers term, that suppliers want that I'm supplier is there to make a profit. I will make the profit with whichever product gives me more profit margin. I will make that product. If say Oreo biscuits gives me 4 rupees, I found that some other company's orange biscuit I get more 5 or 6 rupees, I will switch to that. So the supplier's idea is always more. I want to sell at higher price and more quantity. Both of these I want higher. So this is the supply curve that we can draw on price and quantity. We want for a given higher price. Let's I will try to make this item as compared to some other item at a lower price, as I want to make more money. If the input price decreases, that is the cost decreases, then I will make rightward shift in the supply. So yeah, if my the raw materials that I use and all the other costs that we study in accounting to accounting profit, whatever are the explicit cost, if those decrease, then I will increase the supply because it is costing me the same, you know. I'm just increasing supply. If there is an increase in the explicit cost, then I will decrease the supply. So yes, this also will mark is complete. So we have studied demand curve, supply curve, and equilibrium. Now we will study what is equilibrium. Okay. Market equilibrium, wherever the supply and the demand curve will meet, we call it equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. The supplier will always want maximum price possible to sell the product, while the consumer will always want the product to be the cheapest. So how is the price? Wherever both these lines meet, that is the price that will be decided by the market. So let's talk about consumer surplus now. Consumer surplus is the difference between the maximum price a consumer is willing to pay for a good and service and the actual price they pay in the market. That this we can say is the consumer surplus is sort of a value that was missed by the supplier. Let's say I I am out, I am in the fair, I am going to I want to I have 100 rupees to spend. If my product they see at 20 rupees, they say, oh, I have 100 rupees, I wanted to buy this let's say candy at 100 rupees, but I'm getting for 20 rupees. They would have paid 100 actually if I had kept the price as 100 and I missed them. So that is called the consumer surplus. 80 rupees is the consumer surplus. They would have paid 100 rupees, but they finally paid 20 rupees. So 80 rupees which they were willing to pay but didn't pay is consumer surplus, which extra value the consumer has received. So whatever price, at what price the exchange takes place between the seller and the buyer, that is what we call the equilibrium price. So consumer surplus means the equilibrium point will be less than the consumer surplus point. Now producer surplus. Let's see what is a producer surplus. Is directly opposite. It is the difference between the actual price a producer receives for a good or service and the minimum price they are willing to accept. It means I am ready to make it in 2 rupees, but I'm taking 5 rupees. So that is the actual profit from my end. Okay. Which you know the that value could if I was ready to make at 2 rupees and customer would have bought it at 2 rupees, I'm making at 5. So although I'm ready to make it as 2, but I have some customer and I'm due to our contract we are I'm selling him for 5. So that is a producer surplus that I'm making. Since producer surplus is considered from seller point of view, consider the supply curve. As the price of the product increases, the seller makes more quantities of the product with the hopes of making more profit. The equilibrium price is the price at which quantity demanded by consumers equals the quantity supplied by producers. This is the graphical representation where this is the producer surplus and that is the consumer surplus. And this is the equilibrium point. Going to next. Now what is price ceiling and price floor we'll study. Price ceiling and floor are both price controls imposed by governments to regulate the price of goods and services in the market. Okay. These controls can have a significant impact on the equilibrium price and quantity in the market. Government intervention in the form of price ceiling and price floor causes market disequilibrium. So let's take a 5 minutes break. We'll start at 9:20. So let's get started again. We have already covered 4 to 5 topics, which is good. We'll try to finish this section by the end of the lecture. So now, what is price ceiling and price floor? Price ceiling and price floor are both price control imposed by governments to regulate the price of goods and services in the market. These controls can have a significant impact on the equilibrium price and quantity in the market. Government intervention in the form of price ceiling and price floor causes market disequilibrium. Let's say we see in the graph that we know the demand curve and the supply curve are plotted, and we have the equilibrium point supported, the coordinates of which are P star and Q star. Okay. Now, price ceiling. Price ceiling is the maximum legal price that can be charged for goods or services. It is set below the natural equilibrium price, which is a price where the quantity supplied equals quantity demanded. Where a price ceiling is set, the price cannot rise above this limit. So we see the price ceiling graph is drawn. So what happens here? If you see the supply curve, uh, the suppliers cannot charge, let's say, about, we say this is 10 rupees. Okay. Sellers cannot charge about 10 rupees, but the actual equivalent price is 15 rupees. Correct. So here the price has decreased for the sellers, so they will not be interested in making the product for buying. Correct. So if the price ceiling is below the equilibrium price, it is selling less than the equilibrium price, suppliers will not be interested in making the product, so they will switch to some other product of some other category of other brand. They will not make this product, let's say Oreo biscuits. So a shortage will occur, and as the price, because of the price ceiling, the quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied, because consumers want to buy more at a lower price, but the producers are not willing to supply as much at that price. This leads to shortage of the good whenever there is a price ceiling set for an item. If the price ceiling, let's say, is above the equilibrium point, then there is no effect on the market, because the equilibrium price is already set. People will prefer to trade at the equilibrium point. So in this case, the market operates normally. Now, if there is a ceiling, price ceiling, and there is a shortage, what will happen is there will be black marketing. It will be sold in the black market for a higher price. Okay, even though it is banned. We can see, in, let's say in some states, if there is a ban on a particular item, it might be available for a higher price and discreetly in black marketing. Or let's say there is a new CPU launching in the market. There is limited quantities. Or let's say there is a new mobile phone coming out, iPhone 17. There are only production wise India, there are lakhs of people. You on the first day buy, and there is a you know, shortage. All units are sold and you get one of the units. What will you do in general? You most preferably, if you have bought it for 1 lakh, you can go to OLX and other sites and sell it for 2.5, 3 lakhs, and people will buy if there is a shortage, which Apple tries not to have. But if there is a shortage, you can sell it for higher prices. Or this can be observed during the cryptocurrency mining phase around 2015 after 2018 to 2023, when the cryptocurrency mining was in such high demand that there was shortage of GPUs. So whoever had a GPU was selling it for twice or thrice the price. Even used GPUs prices were has increased up to buying a new GPU a few years back of that item. So that is what happens when there is a shortage. Now price floor is like the minimum price you have to sell above this price. Price cannot fall below this. So now what will happen, let's say there is you have to sell above the price floor. Okay, if it is below the equilibrium point, no worries, because people will buy and sell at the equilibrium point. If the price floor is above the equilibrium point, then what has happened, then the price has increased of the item. Now as price has increased, more suppliers want to sell it, make it and sell it, make it available in the market. But uh, buyers are not interested in buying at a high price. So it will lead to uh, the opposite of shortage is surplus. There is a surplus of the goods and services, and we also call this as commodity glut. It's important to know this term. Sometimes in the exam they have referenced it using this term commodity glut. So for minimum wage laws are an example of a price floor. In Maharashtra, let's see, you cannot pay someone less than 15,000 rupees. For a white collar job, in a blue collar job, I believe it is 12,000 something. If the government sets a minimum wage above the equilibrium wage, let's say normally people employ workers at, let's say, 10 years back they used to employ them at 10,000, and now if you put this minimum wage 12 and 15, then it can lead to surplus of labor. More people are willing to work at a higher wage than there are jobs available, which can cause unemployment. So this is the scenario when we do not allow the commodities to be sold at an equilibrium price, and we try to regulate it using price ceiling or price floors. Depending on what effect you would prefer, you can do it. Next comes elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demand means how much does the demand change with the change in the other parameter that is mentioned. Okay. If the demand for a product changes significantly when the price changes, then the product is said to have elastic demand. Elastic price elastic demand, priced elasticity of demand. And if it doesn't change much, it is called price inelasticity of demand. There are four types of elasticity that we normally use. We can use other types of elasticity as well. One is price elasticity of demand. If I change the price, will there be a change in demand? If there will be a very big change in demand, whether positive or negative doesn't matter. But if I change the price up or down, is there a big change in the demand? Then if yes, it is highly elastic. If no, it is inelastic, somewhere in between. Okay. Income elasticity of demand, same. With an increase in income, let's say salt. If my income increases, I am still going to consume the same amount of salt, correct? So the income elasticity of demand with respect to salt is very stable, neither positive, neither negative. It is stable. So that is one example, income elasticity. Then there is cross price elasticity of demand. It means if I increase the if there is a change in the quantity of good A, then there will be a change in the price of another good. This is used in case of the extremes that we had discussed earlier, that is the substitutes and complements. In terms of substitutes, if the price of good B rises, then demand for good A rises. It means if the price of tea rises, maybe demand of people might switch to coffee. Or if, let's say, price of milk tea rises, people might switch to black tea. And complements are the opposite. If the price of good B rises, then demand for good A falls. Example, if the price of printers rises, the demand for ink cartridges may fall, because We have increased the price for printers, less people will buy it now, so it's expected, so it may fall. So we have studied what is elastic demand. Perfectly elastic demand is infinitely sensitive to price change, which means even at a small change of price, the demand will fall to zero. And elastic demand means whatever amount of price change happens, demand will be there. You sell at 10,000, you sell at 10 lakh tomorrow, people will still buy. Perfectly inelastic demand remains unchanged regardless of price changes. Price increase or decrease does not affect the quantity demanded at all. Now we have the types of goods. First is the giffen goods. Giffen goods is a rare type of inferior good where demand increases when the price increases, violating the basic law of demand. We are studying those types of goods which do not follow generally these demand curves, and they are the exceptions. One is Giffen goods, one is Veblen goods. Giffen good is a rare type of inferior good where demand increases when the price increases, violating the basic law of demand. This counterintuitive behavior happens because of a strong negative income effect that outweighs the substitution effect. The key characteristics of Giffen goods: inferior nature. Giffen goods are a subclass of inferior goods. Demand of them falls and income rises. Correct, they are inferior goods. You don't have any other option. That's why you are consuming it. If given the option in terms of better quality food, or let's say price, you earn more income, you will first switch from inferior goods. And Giffen goods are a subclass of these inferior goods, where demand of them falls when income rises. Lack of substitutes. These goods usually have no close substitutes, especially for the low income groups relying heavily on them. Large share of income. The good must represent a large portion of the consumer's budget, making the income effect more significant when price changes. How it works, let's study. Let's say a very poor household spends a lot most of its money on cheap bread, a given good, and a small portion of meat, luxury good. If the price of bread rises, their real income effectively falls. To afford basic calories, they may cut down on meat and buy more bread to stay full. Despite the higher price, the demand for bread increases. This is called a given good. Inferior goods, what inferior goods? As price increases, people prefer to eat less. But here, what is happening? They have no alternative. So, as even if price increase, they have to buy more of it. They buy more bread to stay full. Giffen goods are theoretically and extremely rare in the world. Very less happens because, let's say in India, there is really a family who are eating the cheapest quality of bread, and now price has increased, so they need to buy more. But we have here ration cards, if you know, where uh, the foods are supplied to the people who cannot afford it at a subsidized rate, or even some quantities is freely allocated per month which they can use. So that's why you see why giffen goods will become rare, because there are measures taken into place. Veblen goods. Veblen goods are a type of luxury good where demand increases as the price increases, because the high price itself makes the good more desirable. This behavior violates the law of demand. Law of demand states as price increase, quantity must decrease, but this is opposite. This is snob effect. This behavior violates law of demand, but unlike Giffen goods, it is driven by status seeking or prestige, not necessity. Key characteristics: luxury. It is a Veblen goods are luxury and status symbol. Positive price demand relationship. As price increases, the good becomes more exclusive, which increases appeal to status. Perceived quality. Consumers associate higher price with higher quality, even if functional differences are minor or non existent. You understand this? Consumers may associate higher price with higher quantity even if the functional difference is minor. So yes, not necessities. Unlike giffen goods, Veblen goods are non-essential and often superfluous. High income elasticity, they have very high positive income elasticity. Demand rises significantly as income rises. Examples of designer bags, luxury watches, high-end sport cars, couture fashion, exclusive jewelry and rare art pieces. Why people buy Veblen goods? Status signaling, exclusivity appeal, social comparison. So this is the comparison between the two. So this will continue from tomorrow. This is the application of what we have, studied. We have studied the price elasticity of demand in the different types of goods. So that is how we'll be ranking them, and then discussing more on the elasticity of demand for products and the nature of goods method of demand forecasting. So now during this last 10 minutes, we will start as we always do. We will now practice the Unit 1 questions. This will help us understand how much we have progressed so far. There is we cannot say entrepreneurial organization, maybe professional organization will depend on skills. Missionary organization, we remember mostly these are norm standardization. Maybe no, they are follow up. The missionary organization, the name is based on Christian missionaries in the medieval ages, where the focus is more on a core belief around which everyone, the community is established. So missionary is not based on norms. We can say, see, innovative, there are two: primary focus on mutual adjustment or does not focus. Innovative organization, we need innovation, so we need to focus on mutual adjustment. So there will be C is present, C is absent, C is there. And we see entrepreneurial organization. mm, which one? Let's see. Missionary organization, yes. If they are anchored around a certain belief, then yes, norm standardization, I believe C and D. Because if you are based on a certain around a core ideology, then there will be norms. What kind of elasticity of demand is faced by the oligopolistic firm? Oligopolistic, we decided if we decrease the price, okay. If we increase what will happen in oligopolistic firm? Let's say five firms are competing with each other. If I increase the price, everyone else, if I decrease the price, everyone else will decrease the price. So same, if I'm selling 100 units today, I'll be selling 100 units tomorrow as well. But let's say if I increase the price, then others have not increased it, so people will buy their product. So we can see the demand is same if I increase the price, right? Demand decreases, so high elasticity for price increase. But if I decrease the price, others will also decrease it, and then the demand will remain the same. So this is high elasticity for price rise, but less elasticity for price cuts. This will study ahead in the types of firms. And we're wrong. So we'll restart it. See, yeah, this we'll study tomorrow. Which of the following types of good does the demand increase rapidly with increase in consumer income, but slows down with further income? This we'll study tomorrow. This is mostly normal goods. This is the page first we'll start from tomorrow after revision. This is true. True, both are true, and it is the correct explanation. Demand drops to zero even with the slightest increase in price. This is high price income elastic. Perfectly, we would say perfectly elastic demand. D4. D is 4. A is 2, A is 2. Now we have to decide based on B and C. We can see perfectly inelastic demand is easy. Either the answer is 1 or 3. So it is 1. Is perfectly elastic means directly to 0 even at small increase in price. Inelastic would be demand never changes regardless of price change. So C would be 1. So C would be 1, D would be 4. So you see in these concepts, if you know one concept out of 4, you know if even the meaning of 1 or 2 you are able to correct matchly, you will be able to find the answer. You don't need to go through all the options. So C1, D4. This is what we go for. Same job, same wage is based on the which criteria justice. This we studied bounded rationality. Based on limited cognitive power, what is the best decision they can make? This we have studied, correct? Behavioral approach, bounded rationality approach, and then the the behavioral approach first. This we just studied. Scientific management is also known as Taylorism. This we will study ahead. In perfect competition, homogeneous or differentiated product. B second. There is only one option with B second. Oh, monopoly. It was A second. That was our mistake. So we had 9 for today. It's good. So see, most if you know the theory, you can mark it as only avoiding of silly mistakes. So today, so this is done, and yeah. Any questions you have, you can let me know in the comments below. Tomorrow we are going to start again. We missed yesterday, but we'll keep going for 60 days, 60-minute challenge. And yeah, I believe if we have 60 days, we need on average in 60 days we need 5 to 6 days to cover one unit. We are I believe it will take around 15. 15 units, 15 days to cover one. So from that you can get an idea how much time is required to study all these topics. Right now we are not studying, we are discussing it, so it's taking more time. But yeah, thank you for joining, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.